welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chris Lee Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show here in our new digs at the Stream TV studios in Hollywood, California. Hey, listen, before we go any further into the show, I want to make sure you guys know we've been announcing at the end of the show every day. On Friday, November the 1st, in Los Angeles at the LA Convention Center, AMC Movie Talk, the whole crew, we are going to be at Stan Lee's Kamikaze at 3:30 in the afternoon on the main stage doing an AMC Movie Talk panel, basically talking all about comic book movies. We hope you can be there to join us. We may have a special guest or two there as well, so we hope to see you there.
A special guest other than me? No.
Other than you.
We also have joining us, sitting all by his lonesome on that side of the table, our very own AMC production manager, Mr. Dennison.
Hi guys, yeah, it is lonely here. I have all this space here.
Yeah, well, for those of you who don't know, Amy Rose was supposed to be in here today as well, in with the crew, but then I realized girls are icky, and it's just going to be us today.
And that's why I'm over here in the corner. All right, the first official trailer for the upcoming Captain America: The Winter Soldier has hit the web this morning. The story picks up where Marvel's The Avengers left off as Steve Rogers struggles to embrace his role in the modern world and teams up with Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, to battle a powerful yet shadowy enemy in present-day Washington, D.C. The film opens in AMC theaters everywhere on April 4th. John, what do you think of this trailer for Captain America: The Winter Soldier?
All right, well, I mean, let me start off with the thing that I didn't like about it. I hate the music in it. I really do. It sounds like some standard generic, oh, I bought this off of a soundtrack depot site. You know, I didn't like the music. Other than that, loved it. Absolutely loved it. You know, I was a little bit worried with Captain America that as they move forward, now that he's had his own film and he's been in Avengers, I was afraid a little bit that as they move forward, they would forget that, look, even if it's been a year or 2 years, he is a guy who was placed out of time. And he is still the fish out of water. And it's not just adjusting to the modern technology of the new world, but the modern ethics of the new world as well. And I think we saw that in the trailer, right? Like when he's standing there and he's talking to Samuel L. Jackson saying, that's fear, that's not freedom, you know, and talking about these things. And I've been really wanting to see a movie focus on him as a character, with him struggling with the changing dynamics of the world we live in. Not just struggling, oh, what's this new cell phone? Not just gags like that, but actually struggling with the morality, the ethics, the philosophy, the way the world is now, and what his idea of the American dream was compared to what it is now. And it looks like, on top of all the great action, on top of the great villains, on top of the great special effects, it looks to me from the trailer, and it's hard to tell from just a trailer, but it looks to me from the trailer like we're going to get that, and that excites me. So I'm pretty pumped about the trailer. The movie may suck, but the trailer's pretty good. So anyway, Dennis, you saw the trailer this morning. What do you think about it?
I love the trailer. The music wasn't great, but it didn't bother me. I thought, I mean, the number one thing that stood out for me was Robert Redford.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the trailer. He's really there, you know, because we heard that he was going to be in it. Now we get to see him. We get to hear him. He does the voiceover for it. He's great. I mean, it's Robert Redford, you know, the Sundance Kid. And so I thought that was great. Yeah, the interactions between him and Captain America, Nick Fury and stuff, I think that all bodes well. But, you know, on the less philosophical side that you were talking about, just more of the geek side, how cool was like that scene of Falcon when he's like jumping off the helicarrier backwards, which we've seen that in a bunch of movies, right?
Sure, but I didn't think we'd see Falcon in the first trailer.
But we never saw anyone do that and then turn around and have wings come out and fly away. You know, I thought that was badass. So I really liked it. I think the Winter Soldier looks pretty cool as well. They kind of hid him in the trailer. Like, it had like blurry, quick flashes and stuff. At first, I was like, "Is that Taylor Kitsch?" But yeah, overall, I loved it. I watched it twice. I watched it once, and then right after, I hit the replay button.
You know, one of the things about the Winter Soldier 2, I really loved that last shot, and I think it's a powerful shot when Cap is chasing after him, throws the shield at him, and he just turns around, boom, one hand. It's like, oh hell, this is going to be great. And so yeah, I agree with you. Great, great trailer.
Not a bad day when the only thing that you can find wrong with it is the music.
Yep.
Not a bad day. It's being reported that The Dark Knight Returns and Warrior star Tom Hardy has officially been cast to star as Elton John in the upcoming biopic Rocketman. Rocketman is described as being a larger-than-life movie musical spectacle that tells the story of a child prodigy turned music legend. John will re-record many of his iconic hits to parallel the emotional beats of the film. Dennis, do you like the casting of Tom Hardy as Elton John?
No. I mean, we did a buy or sell on it, I think, a long time ago when it was rumored, I think,
Yeah.
and I sold it, and I just don't see it, you know? I think Tom Hardy is an amazing actor. You know, he was great in Warrior, he's been great in all the stuff that he's done. Elton John, great singer. I just don't see the connection there. I mean, maybe when it's all said and done, we see a trailer, I might be like, wow, he transformed, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Actually, I love Tom Hardy. The dude's amazing, whether you're talking about Warrior, or you're talking about Bronson, or you're talking about Inception, or you're talking about, what's that one he did with Chris Pine and Reese Witherspoon? The bad spy versus spy one. Who cares?
Something about war.
Yeah,
This
means war. We're all trying to forget that one. That was terrible. But the thing is, to me, it's often, you guys who've watched a show for any period of time, you know, to me it's not just, oh, I like this because it's a great actor. No, to me it's really about fit. And I'm with Dennis. I don't see it. And it's not just the physical appearance, because I can get by physical appearance. It's nuance, mannerisms, whatever. I just can't picture Tom Hardy as Elton John. It just doesn't work in my head. But you know what? That just may blow me away all the more if suddenly we start seeing some trailers like, holy crap, this works. So I'm just saying, off the top of my head, my initial reaction is I don't see it, so I'm not really big on it, but let's wait and see what they do. All right, folks, listen, we've reached that part of the show called Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chris Lee has a few other items in the world of movie news listed in front of her. She's going to run them down, and then Dennis and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
Entertainment site Deadline is reporting that actor Ethan Hawke is set to star in a new film which will feature Hawke as a drone pilot operating from Las Vegas who begins to question the value in fighting such a disconnected war. Hawke will join his Gattaca and Lord of War director Andrew Niccol and is said to be starting production in February. Dennis, buy or sell the sounds of this new Hawke-Niccol film?
I buy it. I like Ethan Hawke. I like Andrew Niccol. I mean, Gattaca and Lord of War are two movies that I think are underrated. Like, a lot of people
totally agree.
Didn't see it, either of those movies, but I think they were very well done. So I'm looking forward to it.
I am going to sell it. I agree with you. Gattaca and Lord of War, especially Lord of War, I think are really, really underrated films. However, Niccol also directed The Host, and he also directed In Time. And I do not forgive for either of those terrible, terrible films. But no, I mean, obviously he's got great talent in him, and I love Handsome Hawke. I mean, who doesn't love Handsome Hawke? I do too. But I can't get into the sound of a movie. This sounds like a movie of a guy sitting on his couch playing a video game for 2 hours. He's a drone fighter pilot. That means he's sitting in a chair off some... I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be more thriller, intrigue stuff associated with this movie, but they're not telling me about it yet, so just my initial reaction is going to be a sell.
Knocked Up star Katherine Heigl has been announced as the star in the new upcoming film Jenny's Wedding. Jenny's Wedding revolves around Jenny, played by Heigl, who causes a massive sea change in the lives of her closely knit, highly conventional family when she finally decides to marry. A pretty and engaging woman, everyone is baffled by Jenny's lack of a love life, and her parents, played by Wilkinson and Edmund, particularly have been anxious for her to settle down. But when the announcement comes that she is finally going to wed, her choice of partner tears the family apart. In order to reconnect, everyone, including Jenny, must reinvent themselves. Dennis, buy or sell the sounds of Jenny's Wedding?
What? Katherine Heigl and another romantic comedy? Sell. Yeah, I mean, how many of these has she done? And that description, which I nodded off on, it doesn't sound any different than any movie that we've seen before. Like, what's the catch in this movie?
Well, I'll tell you what the catch is, and I'm going to sell it too. The catch is she's going to be marrying a girl. I mean, that's the catch. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. I don't know that for a fact. But even then, we've seen it 100 times before. I watch it every week on my favorite sitcom right now is Modern Family. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like I've seen it before, and it's like it sounds like they're trying to hide some big surprise twist, but it's like, come on, it's totally obvious. Now watch them; they're going to make a fool out of me, and it's not going to be that whatsoever. But no, look, I'm okay with Katherine Heigl. I liked her in Knocked Up. And we've had many debates on the wonderfully underrated film, The Ugly Truth, which everybody on the planet hates, and I actually get a real kick out of. And of course, she's done a lot of real stinkers, too. I'm okay with her. I'm okay with romantic comedies. But this sounds like a poor attempt to hide a twist, which makes me lose faith in the filmmakers at all. Who knows? Might be the best comedy of the year. We'll wait and see, but for now, it's a sell.
The Mortal Instruments, City of Bones, ended up being a significant flop for the Constantine Films and Sony Pictures. Enough so that the planned sequel, The Mortal Instruments, City of Ashes, was postponed while the company re-evaluated their approach. Now Constantine is looking to produce the sequel anyway. Martin Moskowitz and Constantine Films' head of film and TV said the following: "The fan response from the blogosphere and the thousands of mails we have received has encouraged us to keep going. It's been overwhelmingly positive. In contrast to some other young adult titles, we are analyzing what we did wrong with the first film, particularly with the positioning and marketing, and what changes we have to make. We are working with a great group of people to reposition the franchise for City of Ashes. The readers of The Mortal Instruments are older than you might think. They may have been one issue in our marketing that we focused too much on a very young audience segment." John, buy or sell the comments from Muskowski?
I'm going to sell them. Now, first, let me start with what I like about these comments. It is very rare you'll hear a studio guy come out, because you heard all the guys, all the production guys with Lone Ranger come out and blame the critics and blame the audience and blame everybody for something that was their own fault, the failure of the Lone Ranger. It is really refreshing to hear a studio guy come out and say, you know what, we need to relook at what we did wrong. What? Did that guy just say what we did wrong? That's refreshing. And I think that's ultimately very encouraging if you're a fan of the studio and of the film franchise, because the guy's saying, hey, no, we made mistakes and we're going to try to fix them, because you can't fix mistakes that you don't think you made. However, that being said, let's look at the financial numbers of this past film. The film just came in under $100 million that it grossed worldwide, with a production budget of $60 million. And Sony reportedly put another $60 million in to marketing. Then, out of that $100 million, only about $70 million of it went back to the studios. So now you've got a film that cost them $120 million that made $70. That's a huge financial bath. And then, as much as I really like his comment about, hey, we made mistakes, we're going to fix them, then he throws Sony under the bus. Did you catch that in the last quote? He goes, blah, 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 marketing's fault, which was, of course, Sony, not his company. So he takes Sony, who was their distributor, and completely throws Sony under the bus. I also think it's interesting to keep note of this, and this is the main reason why I'm selling this. It's all great for him to say, we're going to make another one. That's great. I'm going to be shocked if Sony decides to come back and distribute. I'll be shocked if Warner Brothers decides to. I'll be shocked if any legit distributor gets on board to distribute this film, because they're just going to look at the numbers of the last one. Nobody saw it, got like a 12% critic rating. There's just no upside here. So while it's all well and good for this dude to say, we're committed that we're going to make it, I just don't think it's going to hit theaters. Maybe it will, and maybe it'll be awesome. Maybe it'll be a huge improvement on the first one, and we'll have to eat our words. I love it when that happens. But for now, it's a sell. Dennis?
Yeah, I have to sell it as well. I mean, it is refreshing that they admitted their mistake. I think the part that kind of gets me is we had a positive reaction as opposed to other young adult stuff.
With thousands of mails.
It's like the worst movies or worst things in the world. They all get positive. There's if you nitpick or you funnel in, filter out, and you want to see something a certain way, you can be like, wow, that Last Airbender by M. Night Shyamalan was a great movie, because I'm sure he got thousands
of positive ones.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was the part that got me. I was like, no, I don't think so.
We get thousands of emails every week.
Yeah.
I don't think if we put an AMC Movie Talk movie in theaters that we're going to make $50 million. I'd like to pretend like we would, but no, we wouldn't.
Well,
but I want to know, Chris
I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, you and I have argued about this one before, so I want to know your insight on this.
Buy. I'm so excited that they're thinking of doing the second film. I may be responsible for those thousands of emails. I might be, but I'm super excited. The books are amazing, and I agree that their fan base is not little kids. It's girls like me that have nothing better to do. So I'm super excited that they're thinking of redoing it, and I hope that you're wrong and have to eat your words.
All right.
The upcoming film adaptation of the popular novel 50 Shades of Grey has already gone through a lot of drama with the cast forecasting an eventual departure of Sons of Anarchy star Charlie Hunnam. But with the movie's release date now just 9 months away, Universal seems to be moving forward, having just officially announced that Once Upon a Time star Jamie Dornan will play the lead male role of Christian Grey, opposite the previously announced Dakota Johnson. Dennis, buy or sell Jamie Dornan taking on the role of Christian Grey?
I buy it. I haven't really, watched this guy too much. He's in Once Upon a Time, which I only saw a few episodes of the first season, and he actually was in a UK series called The Fall. What's her name? Scully from X-Files is in.
Right.
What's her name? Gillian Anderson. That she's in. So I actually think it's a good move because number one, they got someone really quick to replace Charlie Hunnam.
Yes.
And instead of letting it linger. And they got someone different than Charlie Hunnam, a different look. So maybe that will appease the fans. And he also doesn't have a huge fan base like Charlie Hunnam does that identifies him as a different character. So I think it'll be easier for his fans to be okay with him in this movie.
Yeah. I am going to sell it. I think, and here's why. I have no problem with Jamie whatsoever. I like you. I've seen him in very limited amount of stuff. I've got no problem with him whatsoever. But I'm going to sell it because I think at this point, this movie needs a name. And quite often you'll hear me say, look, big star names don't attract the big box office anymore. And I still believe that. But once in a while, I think there are certain projects that need a name. This is a movie, 50 Shades of Grey, that should be in theaters today. They should have been making this film 1 year ago, because every month that passes, the fans of this franchise are dwindling more and more. This franchise is not as popular or as buzzed about as it was a year ago, and it's going to be even less talked about and buzzed about 1 year from now. And because of that, I think if they were going to go out, they needed to make a splash with who they cast for this. I thought they did at any rate. Instead, this is going to become a footnote of a news item. Now, maybe he'll be wonderful. And maybe he'll be the perfect guy to play Christian Grey. So this is no knock on Jamie at all whatsoever. He might be fantastic in it. And the movie itself may turn out wonderful. But if this movie came out today, I would guess it could make $40 million opening weekend. Opening up 9 months from now, I don't know that it's going to open to more than 20. And once again, could be wrong. Hopefully it's a huge blockbuster hit and Universal can, roll in money as they're laughing at me. I hope they do. I think that would be awesome. But yeah, for now, it's a sell. But I know out of the three of us in this room, one of us is a big Shades of Grey fan. Crystal Lee, what do you think of this guy taking over the role?
I am. Like you guys, I haven't seen him in a lot. I'm a huge Once Upon a Time fan, and I did like him very much in the series, but he would never have been on my list for Christian Grey. But I went through some pictures, and I will say there's some resemblances for what I think Christian Grey would be. What scares me is that they chose to go with a lesser-known name, or so they say, which makes me kind of lose faith a little bit in the project. So I'm starting to get nervous where I wasn't before.
All right, folks, well, we've reached that part of the show called Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you would like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we get over 1,000 emails every week, but every day we pull out a couple to address on the show. Chris Lee's got a few of them pulled out. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
Andrew, I'm going to apologize for butchering your last name, but it's Andrew Ardwin, right? First off, I found your show on YouTube a few months ago and have been hooked since. My question is, with the Lord of the Rings movie making so much money, is there any chance that some company will make a Dune movie? I mean, it's a best-selling sci-fi book series and way better than the Lord of the Rings books. I think if some company would do the Legends of Dune books first as a movie and just film all 3 movies together like the Lord of the Rings did and release them a year apart, they couldn't go wrong. I mean, I don't understand how they can make Twilight and Ender's Game and the Hunger Games movies, but not Dune. I don't remember when the first movie came out, but I think it made money. And the miniseries was a huge success for the Sci-Fi Channel. Keep up the great work. You guys and girls rock.
Thanks a lot for the question, Andrew. First of all, books, much like movies, are all subjective. Your opinion is no better and no worse than mine. That's all cool. Better than the Lord of the Rings books? No. No, I mean, it's cool if you think so. That's awesome. I just happen to have a very, very different opinion, my friend. Also, let me correct a couple of things. You thought the first Dune movie made money. It did not. It lost money. As a matter of fact, it lost a lot of money. Worldwide, I believe the first Dune film made about $30 million on a $40 million production budget, and that's not counting marketing costs. Plus, then you subtract the money that actually goes back. It lost them a lot of money. And the Dune series, I believe William Hurt was one of the stars in. was actually one I liked. I liked the sci-fi series and Dune, but it was not a big success for the company. So now you have this property, a beloved book series that sadly not enough people today have read, that had a flop of a movie. Actually, a lot of people still remember the movie because it was a flop. And then a TV series that really didn't have the success that it should have had, maybe. And it just kind of makes sense that, no, people don't want to take a chance on this. Look, studios, when they're approaching a potential property, they're asking two questions. And one of the questions is, would this make a good movie? But that's not the first question. The first question they must ask is, will people go out to see this? That's question one. Question two is, now can we make it good so that they'll be happy they saw it, maybe go see it again, and recommend it to other people? Those are the two main questions that they're going to ask. And the thing about Dune is that it kind of fails right off the top. There's nothing to suggest that a lot of people would go out to see it. I would see it. I know for a fact Dennis would see it. And you would clearly see it. But as of right now, I don't think they can say we could think that we would reach a mass audience with this. Now, some of the other films that you mentioned in there, how can Hunger Games get made? How can Twilight get made? Because they made ass loads of money. More money than you and I can dream of in our wildest fantasies. And I have vivid fantasies, my friend. And that they made that much money. So when you're asking how can those get made, that's why. So I don't think we're going to see a Dune movie in the next 5 years. Maybe somewhere down the line, a studio will decide to roll the dice, maybe put a $50, $60, $70 million budget in to get the worms in there. That's going to be huge because you got to make them look badass. But I don't think right away. Dennis, how do you see it?
Well, first of all, I think the next Hunger Games movie should have a movie poster that says, "We made an ass load of money," and that's it. So come see it. I actually like the David Lynch movie that flopped.
I did too, actually. As a matter, Patrick Stewart. A lot of people forget Patrick Stewart's in there.
And I didn't see the sci-fi series, but I heard it was good, and I heard it covered more of what was in the book. But yeah, you're right. It just. Back then, I think Dune was a bigger name, when the movie came out. And right now, it's just most people are like my age or older that remember Dune. And so I don't think it has that name recognition. So it's a risky proposition because the type of movie that is, you're talking about the worms, it's an expensive movie.
This would be a fairly expensive movie.
I mean, you're saying 70, 80, that's like on the low end.
Yeah.
I mean, originally Peter Berg wanted to do it, and he wanted like 100-something for it. So, yeah, I'm hoping for a Dune movie, but I just don't see it happening. At least not anytime, I think, in the next 5 or even 10 years.
All right, what do we got next?
Alvin Elmore writes, "Hey guys, I love AMC Movie Talk. I saw an episode where John bashed the Lone Ranger movie for having Johnny Depp play an Indian, but there doesn't seem to be any outrage over Christian Bale being Moses. Moses was Middle Eastern, not a European. I love Bale as an actor, but this is just like Johnny Depp playing an Indian. I love Sigourney Weaver, but she looks nothing like an Egyptian. So my question is, why are biblical movies always whitewashed?"
Thanks a lot for the question, Alvin. I gotta disagree with you on, first of all, the starting premise, saying that, hey, taking an entire movie cast and not going with the local indigenous ethnicity of the movie cast as opposed to a situation like The Lone Ranger, these are not the same thing. These are night and day difference. Because with Johnny Depp and The Lone Ranger, you're talking about, and this was always my biggest argument, how many truly pop culturally recognized, iconic Native American characters are there? I can think of one off the top of my head. And in a movie filled with a bunch of white guys, there's the one pure, iconic, legendary character, and you gotta put Johnny Depp in it? That is the point. That is a completely different thing, I believe, than say, there's this Korean film that looked at the issue of Christopher Columbus and the settlement of North America. And guess what? The whole cast was Koreans. Of course it was. They weren't suggesting that the settlers of North America came from Korea. They weren't. It's just that they made that for their audience, and that was their actors, and they made it. I don't care. But when it comes to race in movies, I have 3 very key words that I don't know that I've ever said here on the show, but that kind of govern how I feel about what race plays a certain role. And these are the 3 words. I don't care. Michael Clark Duncan playing Kingpin, a very traditionally Caucasian, big, fat, white dude, and Michael Clark Duncan's black. I don't care because Clark was great in it, so who cares? Perry White. I mean, for heaven's sakes, White is in his name. The traditional, you know, the editor for Superman, he's a white character. You're putting Morpheus in there? I don't care. Memoirs of a Geisha. It's a Japanese story with a Japanese character, and you're making this Chinese actress, Zhang Ziyi. You're putting her in there? That she's Chinese? That's outrageous. I don't care. Christian Bale is European. Batman is American. Bruce Wayne is American, damn it. Superman is American, damn it. I don't care. When it comes down to it, the only thing that really matters is, do they make a good movie? And listen, the bigger issue really for the studios is going to be this, is the fact that if they make a huge multi-million-dollar epic, you can't fill it with actors that nobody in the North American audience has never heard of. I'm not saying that's the way it should be. It's probably not the way it should be, but it is the way it is. And so if a company is going to put up $150, $160, $210 million to make their epic, they are going to populate that film with actors that their movie-going audience will recognize. And that makes sense. Now, as long as they don't cross a lot of really big lines, I really don't care. So the fact that Christian Bale is European and not American like Bruce Wayne, it doesn't bother me. The fact that he's not you know, Jewish and Israeli like Moses would have been, doesn't bother me. I just don't care. I really throw race out the window for me. As long as there's not like a key essential element to something that's going on and it breaks the spirit of it and it pulls me out of the film, then personally I don't care. And it's totally cool if you do. If it's an issue for you, I'm with you. I totally understand that because different things will affect each of us differently. I'm just telling you that for me as an issue, it's one I really don't care about very much. Although I'm getting kind of worked up for an issue I'm claiming I don't care about much. Anyway, Dennis, how do you see something like this?
Well, in pertaining to the biblical movies, I can't really say too much. I'm not a religious person. I don't really honestly know much about the Bible, so
right.
I can't come on that. But as far
I'm a theology student. I can teach you everything you need to know, son.
So as far as race, though, I'm the opposite of you in that I do care. However, I do understand it's a tricky area and it's a gray area, so it's not like it has to be this way. But I do care. Like a movie, I don't know if you remember a movie 21. It was about those. Was it like?
Oh, I'm thinking 21 grams.
No. 21. It's like those. It's based on a true story book about these MIT students, I think. That basically they're counting cards. Kevin Spacey's the teacher, but apparently the entire book was like mostly all like Asians, you know, in it. And then when they did the movie, they did have a couple Asians in it, but they weren't the main characters. It was, you know, pretty much like a white cast. In that situation where it's a kind of a low-cost budget, and also the guys that they did get in the main roles, they weren't big stars anyways. So I felt like, oh, so why, you know, you could have cast Asian actors in there. So for something like that, I think something like that bothers me a little bit more. Not to the extent where I'm like, oh my God, this is an injustice or something like that. Last Airbender is something where the characters are not, they technically aren't certain races or ethnicities in it, but if you watch the animated series, you can tell where all the influences are and what, you know, a certain, the tribes and, you know, the water tribe and the fire tribe and all that, what kind of Asian influences they have on it. And they
Goku in Dragon Ball Z was another one that they decided not to go with an Asian actor.
Yeah, and so, you know, kind of like whitewashing all of that. So it does bother me sometimes, but I do understand that studios want to make money, and so they're unwilling to risk it. But there are certain situations where I do see people who aren't big actors be placed in these roles. So that kind of bothers me.
Yeah, I guess like many things, there's no answer number one or answer number two. There's quite often answer number one and answer number 1,000 with 999 in between, and that's probably where we end up on this. All right, folks, well, listen, that will do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so glad that you decided to take time today to spend a little bit of it with us. I want to thank the guy sitting at the table with me. First of all, he is the production manager of AMC Movie News, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or on YouTube, ThinkHero Pro.
I want to thank, of course, our lovely host today, Miss... You know what? I'm not going to do it. just because she talked badly about me when it came to Mortal Instruments. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Chrisley, and I'll be away this weekend, so I'll see you guys next week.
And yeah, that's a good thing to point out, guys. There's not going to be a AMC Movie Talk tomorrow. Chrisley is going to be out of town. I'm going to be out of town. A couple of people in the studio here are going to be out of town. So we're going to do an AMC mailbag tomorrow instead of an AMC Movie Talk. So keep your eyes open for that. Thank you so much again, guys, for joining us. Remember, the most important part of our show is not what we have to say. Who cares what Dennis thinks about Dune? Who cares what I think about the race thing in movies? Who cares about that? The important thing is, what do you think? Jump on down to the comment section below. Leave your thoughts on any or all of the topics we discussed here today. Agree, disagree, that's the most fun thing about being a film fan. So thanks a lot for joining us. Until next time, my name's John Campion for AMC Movie News, and until then, bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news, and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.